I'm teacher Melai, and let's talk about sampling techniques. There are two types of sampling techniques, random or probability random sampling, and the other one is non-random or non-probability sampling technique. So in this video, we are going to consider the list found in the screen. So we have here simple random sampling until cluster for random sampling, while for non-random, we will consider purposive until snowball sampling. So what is random sampling techniques or probability sampling? So in probability sampling, all the members of the population are given equal chances of being included in the sample. In simple random sampling, like lottery method or use of random numbers, the target population is not classified into different clusters, level, or classes. The whole population is considered as one group. In lottery method, just like in raffle draw, all you need to do as a researcher is to come up with a piece of paper wherein the numbers of the populations are written there. So you have to mix that maybe in a bowl or in a box, and then just pick the number of desired sample size or the number of sample size based now on your calculations of your sample size. Well, for the use of random numbers, we can either use calculators, we can also use Microsoft Excel in generating random numbers. So what you need to do in using the random numbers is to assign numbers to the members of each population so that when you come up with this number, then you know who will be the representative. So in also using random numbers, you can set rule, especially that if you obtained a number using calculator, it will not give you the numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it will give you, for example, numbers like 0.125, 0.1375. So you can craft or come up with a rule there, and based from that rule, you can select now your sample size, or you can determine rather the members of your samples. In systematic random sampling technique, the researcher needs to consider the nth member. So he or she has to set what will be the nth member. It can be third, every fourth, every fifth, sixth, seventh, and so on. And where to start, it also depends on the decision of the researcher where to start. And then he or she will just stop whenever she reached the desired number of sample size or the computed value of the sample size. In the stratified random sampling, the population is divided into different strata, and the researcher wants that the sample is well represented by each of the strata. So unlike for the systematic random sampling technique and the simple random sampling technique, the population is considered as one group. But for stratified random sampling techniques, it is considered as divided into different strata. And what is strata, again, is the groupings made by the researcher. It can be based on socioeconomic status of the respondents, or it can also be that the respondents, or rather the researcher, wants that the year level is being considered, like there is a representative in first year, second years, third years, fourth years, or it is well represented by the different courses and others. So that's how how the researcher consider now how to name the strata. And we can either come up with equal allocation and proportional allocation. So with equal allocation, the researcher select equal number of sample from each subgroup. So he or make sure that the number of samples for each strata is the same, while for proportional allocation, it is of course proportion to the population size, which means the higher the number of population, the higher is the sample size, and the lower the number of population, the lower is the sample size. So it depends now on the percent computed or the proportion computed. In cluster random sampling, this is similar to the stratified random sampling. The difference is only that in the stratified random sampling, the researcher now is the one who made the groupings, while for cluster random sampling, it is made by the researcher. However, it has something to do always with the geographical area. This is used when you have a very large population and that you have to come up with representatives per groups also, and the groups is based on the geographical area. Let us move now to non-probability or non-random sampling techniques. In non-probability sampling techniques, there is a possibility that not all items in the population are given equal chances to be included in the sample. It is because we have to consider, for example, that our respondent is based on or selected based on our purpose. So the respondents will be based on the knowledge of the information required by the researcher. For example, if the study is historical, of course, you have to consider only respondents of age 60 and above. For quota sampling, this is commonly used in opinion polls. So suppose a salesman is required to gather information of the top or most commonly used shampoo, then he or she must only consider now the first 200 respondent if the quota is 200. And after meeting that quota, he or she doesn't need the other respondent anymore. Another non-random sampling technique is convenient sampling. So in convenient sampling, the researcher gathers information based on his or her convenience. It can be that he or she uses a cellular phone, he or she uses social media, emails in gathering the data. If your respondent is obtained or selected based on recommendations or referral, we call that as the snowball sampling techniques. Thank you for listening.